Hello and welcome. My name is Eric. My username is Eric Carver Coding on Discord. I'm coming to you today with a walkthrough and full tutorial to a problem on HackerRank. Specifically, it's the designer PDF viewer one. And it's an easy problem-solving basic 15-pointer. I got a little summary here. Basically, we're taking a list of 26 characters and relating those to an integer, a score, specifically a height of that letter, and then translating that into the height of a word. Completely, completely absurd. But that's what HackerRank problems are. They come up with these crazy problems, and I think they try to confuse people with that. And once you get past that and get to the root of it, then you can solve the problem. And I think once you see that, you'll see that deep down it's a pretty basic problem. All right, so I'm just putting this out there. I think I'm going to be offering some tutoring services. I don't know how that's going to exactly come out, but it looks like I'm going to try to help people stay focused, whether that's with group code assistance or one-on-one sessions. I definitely would like to work more with these HackerRank problems so that people can become more fluent with making their code do what they want and to just solve it quickly, efficiently, and some accountability coaching. So, in any case, this video is just a small sample of what I think I can provide. So, with that said, let's start the problem. So, let's go to the problem and read through the description real fast. I find if I read through the problem fast, some will absorb. I'll overlook some just due to the confusion or the way it's worded. And then I'll try to break it down. It's my method. Give it a try. Anyways, when a contiguous block of text is selected in a PDF viewer, the selection is highlighted with a blue rectangle. In this PDF viewer, each word is highlighted independently. For example, and it shows 3 highlighted words. There is a list of 26 character heights aligned by index to their letters. For example, A is at index 0 and Z at index 25. There will also be a string. Using the letter heights given, determine the area of the rectangle highlight in millimeters squared, assuming all letters are 1 millimeter wide. Completely absurd. Regardless, as an example, we have a list named H that has 26 numbers in it, related to A through Z. Also, as promised, they included a string named word with a value of torn, T-O-R-N. Now they're telling us that if you use these numbers here to translate those heights, T would be 2, 0, O would be 1, R would be 1, and N would be 1. Since 2 is the tallest letter high, and there are 4 letters, 2 times 4 would equal 8 millimeters squared. So what we're looking for in the function description is to complete the designer PDF viewer function in the editor below. It has following parameters: an integer list named H with 26 values in it, and each of those are the heights of each letter from A through Z. And then a string named word. It's literally just a string. What we're going to return, very important, the function has to return an int, one integer, which will relate to the size of the highlighted area of the word. Again, absurd premise, but give it time. It'll make sense when we're done with this. So the input format, the first line contains 26 space-separated integers describing the respective heights of each consecutive lowercase English letter, the ASCII A through Z. So that's how the code is coming in here, and HackerRank then breaks it down, R strips it, splits it, and sends it to us as as elements in the list as H. So I don't know why they're going into this detail, but in any case, the second line contains a single word consisting of a lowercase English alphabetic letters. So our constraints, always confusing. Let's do the second one first. Word will contain no more than 10 letters. Okay, so that will have just an ordinary word, presumably from 2 through 10 letters long. And then here we have H, which is our list of heights. Okay. Those heights will range from 1 through 7. So where question mark is an English lowercase letter. So it's saying our heights will range from 1 through 7. Sample input shows the list has values from 1 through 5, A, B, C. A would be 1 height, B would be 3 height, and C would be 1 height in this example. 3 would be the biggest of those 3 letters, the tallest, and there's 3 letters, so 3 times 3 would give us a sample output of 9. And then, so he goes into detail and explains it how I just did there. A second input would be numbers from 1 through 7, and the word is Zaba, Z-A-B-A. So we have a 7 as the height of Z, so we can stop right there since that's the highest, so we know that 7 is the height, and that's the max, times 4 would be 28, as we see in this sample output. All right, we go to the right, and you can see it's pretty standard. So what do I do? Before I do that, I would kind of just draw up a quick flow chart. So you don't have to do this. It just kind of helps me with the flow of the data. So if we imagine from the start of the problem, what are we receiving in that problem? Oops, shucks. Sorry. First time, first video. So what are we receiving? We're receiving H, which is a list of letter heights, a list of integers, and then a word, which is a string. What do we need? We need to create a way to interpret the H list of heights to the specific letters. I wasn't exactly too sure how to do this. I came up with a solution that I think was pretty dumb, but it did it, right? Even a dumb solution that comes up with a solution works. But I learned a lot because I learned a better way to do it after it's all done. So the discussion I put here as a point was I used another list that I built with letters A through Z to act as a dictionary for the list of heights. Other solutions would be to loop through or to use ORD function or to create a set of dictionary pairs. I'm not exactly too sure which would be the best, probably the ORD method, but I'll show you my method and then we'll go from there. So the first thing I did was I renamed H to height and I created a list of letters A through Z so I could kind of translate and know that the fifth element of the letters is E, so then I know the fifth number in H is the height of E. Confusing, but you'll see it in a moment. Then we have to loop through the word letter by letter to find out the heights of each letter. And then I saved each of those heights to an answer list so I could then process them when it was done. And then once almost done, I took the heights of each letter in that list, I found the max value, and then I returned that after multiplying it by the word lengths. And then I was done. So work on a flow chart. Imagine how you have to get from the start to the end before you even code. And then when you code, that's the good part. So from there, I like to come in, and the first thing I do, I will come in and I will print out everything that comes to that function. So when we run that, we're able to see down here, okay, H, the first item that we're printing, is a list of numbers, and then the word is ABC. So I scratched my head there. I didn't know what to do, but then I knew I had to create some sort of way to translate that H to letters. So I came up with an idea whereby first I did letters and I just did A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And I just did that all the way to the end. Shucks. I have to have those in quotes. So as I was putzing around with that, I realized there's an automated way to do that. I found that on Google. It was like I Googled Python how to fill a list with ASCII A through Z, and it came up with the solution. And I'm not exactly too sure what that code means. Like I said, I just learned about the ORD function or method. But in any case, what that does is it creates a list from A through Z, and it names it letters. So as I'm working through, I like to put in comments, and that's the comment I came up with that. And then I thought it very confusing that the height list was called H. So I just renamed it H. I'm sorry, renamed it height. So from there, I wanted to test and just make sure that everything makes sense. So I came up with this test. So we're going to test the ability to print out each letter's height. So I'm going to go through heights, and print out each value in there. And when we run that code, it comes up with this. So I knew that we did well. Let me turn this back on up here, this print H. And when we rerun it, you can see the difference. Here's H. And here's the iteration of H, letter by letter. Okay, so we're on the right path. So I'm going to turn that one off, and we'll turn these off. So now that we know that that works, let's see if my new list works. List of letters, right? I created letters. If done properly, will create a list A through Z. And done in a loop, it's going to do it one at a time, assuming it works well. So we go through, and yeah, it goes from A through Z. All right. So then that confirms that letters list is working as well as height. So now, let's comment those out. Now we need to test out to confirm that the two lists act side by side, act as a dictionary with a relationship. So, and what that means is this means the letter at the X index of letters would have a height of the X index in height. So what we're going to do is we're going to iterate through both of them and print the height next to the letter. And if we go back up top and make it so we see the raw H values, you can see this is H. And now with a couple lines of code, I've been able to process it so that we can literally see A is 1, B is 3, C is 1, D 3. Oh gosh. All right. So that confirms that works. So we'll turn that back off. And we know now that that relationship between those two lists, height and letters, works. So now we've got a way to translate heights. So now I wanted to look at word, right? As you recall, word was the string sent in, and we need to translate all the characters in word to their height. So for each letter in word, it's going to print the letter and then the index of that letter in the letters list. So our word that was being sent to us was ABC, and it confirmed A is index 0, B is 1, and C is index 2. Now we don't need the index, we need the height. So we need to relate that index to the heights index. So how can we do that? The next logical step is to iterate through the word each character, and we call that letter, and then we'll print that letter, we'll print the index of that letter in the letters list, and then next to that, we'll compare it to the height in the height array list. So we scroll down, and now we find out A is height 1, B is 3, and C is 1, which is how the sample said as well. A was 1, B was 3, C was 1, and we have that here. Wrong button, Eric. All right, so now that we have that, Now that we've proven that we can connect the values from the individual letters in Word to the heights in the height list, now we have to just pick those numbers and save them somehow so we can translate or process them. And what I did was I created a list called answer list. And as we saw in the flowchart, my idea was to go through each letter in Word and then save the height of each letter to a list, and we can process that later. So as you see from my code here, I went through each letter in Word and I appended to that list the height of each letter. And as you see, I used the code that I just proved up here. So I know immediately that it's going to work just as well as I did here. So with high confidence, I can test this code. So let's go through and just print the answer list. Let's see what's in there. And like I said, I print and test a lot of my processes as I'm doing it. So here we go. And that would be the expected result. My answer list has a 1, a 3, and a 1, which corresponds with A, B, and C in this sample. All right. What would you do for your next step? What I did was I went through and I got the max in that list, and then I times it by the length of Word. So I did a return. Return, what am I returning? The max of answer list times the length of answer list. And that should do it. Let's run that code. And voila. Then before I submit it, I like to pull out all my junk code, any of my comments that aren't relevant, any of my tests that aren't relevant. I kept those in here so you could see it. But let's maximize that so you can see. Let's go back to the beginning. So my method was to create a list of letters from A through Z, since the program is sending us a list of heights related to A through Z. To translate it, I created a list from A through Z. I'm not too sure many people would do it that way. I really don't. I'm not proud of this answer, but it was my answer, and I stuck with it just to be consistent. To make things easier, I changed H to height. Just seemed smart. I did some testing and eventually got us to the point where I was able to translate the word, break it down by letter, and then convert those letters to heights, append those values to a list called answer list, and then process that to return. So the solution took me about 10 minutes. Like I said, it's not a solution I'm proud of. I'm pretty sure AI, if I asked them how to do it, this wouldn't even be a recommendation, but it worked. So with that said, I think I'm going to close up this video. If you have any questions, feel free to message me on Discord, and I hope it helps. Also, I don't know what's going on with this microphone. It's making me sound like a leprechaun, but in any case, hopefully you're listening to it at 150% speed because I talk so slow. All right. Thanks for watching this far. Hope it helped. Let me know how it went. Thanks so much.